Once you have identified the education gap and the needs of your learners, you can develop your learning objectives. Learning objectives are the salient key takeaways from the activity. Learning objectives are measurable via evaluations. Begin with a verb that can facilitate measurement of learning. The mission of the University of Tennessee College of Medicine is to generate educational activities that produce the expected results of improvements to our learners' competence, performance, and/or patient outcomes. Competence-based learning objectives focus on teaching strategies for incorporating new techniques, pathways, technology, etc. into professional practice. At the end of the education, the learner should have the ability to apply knowledge, skills, etc. into practice. Performance is what is actually put into practice. Patient outcomes measure a change in the health status of the patient. Knowledge-based goals are not measurable and therefore not sufficient. When writing learning objectives, begin with a verb that can be used to measure change. Verbs that measure change in competence, for example, differentiate between the most common types of neurodegenerative disorders. Maybe you're using verbs to measure changes in performance. For example, employ the latest evidence and strategies for managing common primary care diagnoses, including diabetes mellitus, anemia, hypertension, and sleep disorders. Avoid unmeasurable verbs like understand. Instead, use a verb such as summarize or interpret that can demonstrate an understanding of the subject matter. In CME, the format that you choose for your activity is just as important as the content itself. Why? Because the right educational format can engage learners more effectively, support their preferred learning styles, and ensure that the education translates into improved practice. The format you choose should support the goals of your learning objectives. You are likely already familiar with many of the traditional options like lecture and didactics, which convey new information. A panel discussion can present several points of view and gives participants the opportunity to ask follow-up questions. Roundtable discussions allow for debate on specific topics, often with findings reported to the entire group. Q&A sessions give participants the opportunity to clarify information for their own needs. But it might be time to try something new. Case study or abstract presentation gives a concrete example and allows participants to discuss possibilities of diagnosis or treatment. Hands-on workshops and simulations, learners are immersed in clinical or business scenario and are asked for their feedback. Interactive questions embedding in presentations, for example, live polling apps, give learners an opportunity to recognize their own knowledge gaps. Breakout sessions allow learners to select topics that are most useful to their needs. By choosing the right combination of formats, you can create a CME activity that is engaging, practical, and impactful, helping learners bridge the gap between knowledge and practice. Thanks for watching.